Guys, what's going on? Hello and welcome to Cereal at Midnight. This is a first. This is a Cereal at Midnight first. And the entire time that I've had Cereal at Midnight on Patreon, January 2019, 3+ years, I've never given away an entire Patreon episode. Those are my thank yous to the people that support us, that help make this happen. We'll talk more about that in a second. But this is the first time I'm giving a full episode away. We've done previews, like 10-minute excerpts and things like that. This is the full episode of Collecting at Midnight 26, which hit Patreon in February of 2022, which is why you're going to see all those. I keep making Batman jokes about the Batman movie. That's why, because it was hot and trendy at the time. But why now? Why am I doing this? Why am I giving away Collecting at Midnight episode 26 for everybody? Two reasons. One, we just had our huge conversation about why do we collect, which has brought a lot of people into the channel. But people are like, but Heath, you collect. I do, but it's different than like, so I bought Gattaca, cool movie. I also bought, like, you're gonna see what collecting means to me. I don't have to explain it to you. You're gonna see it. It's a gateway to my passion. I have so much to say, and everything is like a side street that takes me down. I'm like, and this is why I connect with this. And I don't see a lot of that on YouTube. And so that's what I can explain it to you, or I can just show you. So I thought, let's just show you guys. And also, I wanted you to see what's actually happening on Patreon. I talk about Patreon a lot here. Completely viewer supported. I have rejected all sponsorships. I don't want to talk about stamps. I don't want to talk about NFTs. I don't want to talk about mobile games. I want to talk to you guys about what I'm excited about. And I'm able to do that completely because of Patreon support. This is not a hobby for me. This is not a side hustle. This is my main career. The pandemic killed my day job in 2021. And Bree, my wife, and I had a conversation. We said, go for it. Chase Cereal at Midnight. Make this your main career. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. And I'm flying without a net here, and it's scary. And we're completely viewer supported. We get a little ad revenue from the Google AdSense, the stuff that you see, the ads you see here on the main channel here. But it's so low. It's like 10 cents per 1,000 views or something like that. So I just want you guys to know, just because you see ads doesn't mean that people are raking it in. Google takes most of that, and it's not a lot to begin with. So it's just me, and it's just you. And so the Patreon support means so much. What's on Patreon? Well, as you see, this is the 26th episode of this series. If you like what you see, episode 27 is going up on Patreon right now. So you guys are watching this. Patreon is watching episode 27. If you like what you see, head over there and check it out. And of course, there's over 100 exclusive videos there, collection tours. We've got like 10 hours of collection tours, comics, movies, music. There's so many album hauls that never got talked about here on the main channel because it's just for Patreon. It's a thank you. Those are my thank yous to the people that have helped make this channel possible. So that's what's going on behind the scenes. If you can support us, it means more now than it ever has before, because I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants here trying to make this happen. If you can't support regularly, there's a donate button at CerealAtMidnite.com where you can also find hundreds of reviews. Again, this is this video series, Cereal at Midnight, the YouTube channel, is a companion to the website where you can find years worth of content, reviews, articles, so much more at CerealAtMidnite.com. Guys, that's going to do it. Stay tuned. Collecting at Midnight, episode 26. Heath from February 2022, take it away. Guys, what's going on? Hello and welcome to another Patreon exclusive conversation. I feel like I'm getting more and more southern as I go, especially these Patreon exclusives. Okay, guys, what's going on? Welcome to Cereal at Midnight. This is Collecting at Midnight, episode 26. This is the first one we've done since 25. That's how I talked when I was a kid. That's the native Alabama accent right there. Well, I don't know about a whole lot about movies and stuff. I think they're kind of a gateway to the devil, if I'm being honest, y'all. I'm just being honest, y'all. This is Collecting at Midnight 26. If you're new to Patreon since the last Collecting at Midnight, because it's been a minute, this is sort of my freeform look at the collecting aspect of what we do. I like to keep this off the main channel because there's so much collecting talk on YouTube already. I try to keep my videos focused on reviews and like journalistic content, like spotlights on things, interviews with people, and telling people about the new stuff in a way that they can make informed decisions with their dollars. Because, goodness knows we've never had so much competing for our dollars. So the collecting talk comes here just for you guys. This is my stack. This is the last 3 weeks or so, probably 2 to 3 weeks. And it's a real. It runs the gamut. Some people say runs the gambit, but that's not right. It runs the gamut. This is not new, but I'm using it as context into my gateway for the thing that is new. I talked about this in my Sam Katzman video recently. This is the double feature from Sony. Rock Around the Clock, which came out before Don't Knock the Rock and should be over here. Well, who's bothered? Not me. Talked in that video about when I was talking about Sam Katzman and his exploitation tendencies not tendencies, he's how he made his living. How you never want to hit the same trends too many times. So this is there was a third one. They were leaning into Calypso. They thought Calypso was going to be the next thing. That the rock and roll movement of 55, 56 was going to lead to a Calypso craze. And it didn't. The Calypso craze, I'm reading, I've finished it. I read that Teenagers and Teen Pics book. The Calypso craze, it was like 3 weeks. It was literally like 3 weeks. Like they're like, oh, it's going to be huge. Now Harry Belafonte, they would have, these musical acts would have a bigger career. But the films for these things, they didn't take off. But what did a few years later is the Twist craze. So this is Sam Katzman in the early 60s. It's interesting, right? Because this is also Sony. It's the companion piece to this. If there's another volume of this, I'm not aware of it. This is out of print. It's kind of hard to find now. But I did find it. I got a good price on it on eBay. This is Don't Knock the Twist. I'm sorry, Twist Around the Clock and Don't Knock the Twist. You see, they're like exactly the same titles too, right? Don't Knock the Rock, Don't Knock the Twist, and Rock Around the Clock, Twist Around the Clock. Like, if it works, it works. You know what I'm saying? So, both of these are produced by Sam Katzman, and Fred F. Sears, who directed the other two, had just died at 44 before, shortly after he made those two movies. So we got a new director here. This is Oscar Rudolph. I will probably review these for my site at some point because I'm really focusing on my reviews. I am loving writing these reviews for Serial at Midnight. I don't always, sometimes they take more time than I would like them to, but then I look back and I'm like, look at this archive that I'm building. And so having something, and it serves a great purpose too, because anytime somebody's searching for those movies, and I try to stay away from like more mainstream, like, okay, so as I'm recording this, the Batman movie with Sad Batman is coming out. Batman is sad, you guys. Somebody check on him. He's sad. I'm probably not going to write a review for that. Maybe I will, but that's going to get lost, right? Movie covers and things like that get lost. You focus on the things that other people will be seeking out, like twist movies. That's going to bring somebody to my channel. It's going to bring somebody to those reviews. That has real value, right? So, and I tell you, I just wrote a review for a John Wayne movie, which we're going to talk about in a second. And there's I can find 3 reviews online for it. So that's another thing too. That's a little tactic. It's a little peek behind the scenes. Don't let your stuff get lost. Write content, create content that, because I know a lot of you guys are YouTubers and you're bloggers and stuff like that. That's my advice: is write things that go against the flow. That's just what I do anyway. I don't like being a part of the flow. I like to go against the flow. All right, let's talk about TV shows. This kind of fits into that. So, as I'm recording this video, just last week, this past weekend, there was a marathon. This channel that comes on television is a broadcast channel. Decades does weekend marathons, and like a couple of weeks ago, they did a My Three Sons marathon, and it's just like all of Saturday, all of Sunday. They're showing episodes. They showed the first 2 full seasons of My Three Sons. Where is My Three Sons on regular television these days? It's nowhere to be found. Also, quick sidebar about Antenna TV. I know a lot of people love MeTV. MeTV is like, I like MeTV. I watch some MeTV, but it's like the usual suspects. It's the big heavy hitters. It's the stuff you expect. You get off the beaten path. Antenna TV does a lot of other stuff, and Decades does a lot of other stuff that is not getting tons of play. I think Antenna TV is the channel that's doing Hazel and Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. And Decades is doing like the Lucy Show and just deeper. It just goes deeper. So Decades. Maybe it's tied into Black History Month. They had it was like a Saturday into Sunday. They were showing the entire series of That's My Mama, which I had never heard of, ever. And then they ended Sunday with the full run of the Red Fox Fred Sanford, Red Fox. The Red Fox series, The Royal Family. I think that's what it was called. Short-lived. Eddie Murphy produced this series, and it was supposed to be a comeback for Red Fox, and he died filming episode 8. And that's fun. It's not funny. It's ironic. For all of Sanford and Son, he'd be like, Elizabeth, this is the big one. Like, fake a heart attack. He actually had a heart attack while filming, like, the 8th episode of the series of the Royal Family. And, or maybe I should say the Royal Family. Because that's their name, I guess. Like, the Royals. Anyway. They were like, is he joking? Is he doing his bit? And then they run him to the hospital and he dies. And so then they have to bring in they brought in Jack A. If Eric Griggs is watching this, he just was like, Jack A. He has Jack A merchandise, has done some business with her. Anyway, so I'd never seen That's My Mama before. I'd never even heard of it. And one of the reasons for that is because it was it didn't get picked up for syndication as I see it. It's a 2-season show. I think 39 episodes, which is not enough for syndication. So it just kind of sank, I guess. And it wasn't a hit when it came out. It didn't make the top 30, and I'd never heard of it. So I was like, this is pretty good. And you get the complete series. It's a 5-disc DVD set. The first season is 3 discs, and the second season is 2. 20 something bucks. I was like, oh, when That's My Mama goes out of print, it's not coming back because nobody knows what it is. I mean, some people do, right? But no, it's not well remembered. It didn't have staying power, is the point. I placed the order on Hamilton book. This past Monday was the big Hamilton book drop. Do a new drop every month with the new titles and stuff. And so wasn't a whole lot in there for me for this particular month, but I'd had stuff in my wish list that I didn't really want to pull the trigger on for a while. So I just used that as an opportunity to pick a lot of this stuff up. So out of that purchase came, I picked up a lot of Republic stuff. The Poverty Row Studio, Republic Pictures. There were a lot of movies that Frank Tarzi, he's the acquisitions guy for Kino Lorber, used to be the acquisitions guy for Olive Video. Is it Olive Video? Olive Films. I didn't think that sounded right. And he loves the stuff that Kino Lorber puts out. You see, that's the Frank Tarzi connection. So he's not with Olive anymore. By all appearances, Olive is not in great shape. They've only put out like one new release in the last 12 months or something like that. But that catalog reflects a lot of Tarzi's specialty. So this is a Republic Pictures movie from 1946. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not going to say too much about it. In fact, I can just show this and we can move on. And these have no special features. This is how you can see maybe an adjustment in the Kino Lorber model too, because these were like $30 retail prices with no special features. You're just getting the movie in HD. Kino Lorber gets these movies now in, $15, $18, $20 on the high end, and they've got features. So they've adjusted their model. They've adapted, which you have to do. This is one I'm really curious about, the delinquents, because it pops up in that Teen Pix juvenile, the Teen Pix and teenager book that I just read. It's I think it's Robert Altman's first film, and 1957, and I'm really excited about watching it. I was gonna say 72 minutes. I miss the days of a 72-minute movie. Now again, everything's 3 hours. Movies in the last year to 2 years have been statistically longer than ever before in the history of movies. More longer movies than ever before. We've always had longer movies, right? We always had Ben-Hur, but never so many of them. Never more movies being longer than right now. And that's not a trend I like, because I only have so much time, and if I can bang out 3 enjoyable movies, 3 movies that I like, that I feel like use their time well, and the time that it takes me to watch one big studio picture with Sad Batman, that's a good example. I'm probably just going to go watch the 3 shorter movies because, I don't know, I just feel like for me, where I'm at, the return is better there. But what about you guys? That's a good, I would love to know what you guys think about that too. Do you feel like these big, long spectacle movies are using your time well? And on the other side of that movie, do you remember them well? Are you like, oh, that was good. I'm glad I gave the time to that one. For me, a lot of them, I'll never think about again. I'll never watch again. But again, that's just me where I'm at. Clearly, I'm at a point in my fandom where I'm digging into the past and finding all my joy is in the past. Most of not all of it, but most of it. This is that was a United Artists picture. This is a Republic, another Republic. Richard Dix, the Whistler. Gail Patrick is in this. What's the running time? 99 minutes. It's a long one. Has a warning, not a warning, but a disclaimer. Man of Conquest is presented using the best elements available. So it must have some, must not look great. I just wrote a review for this. This is up now if you want to go check out my review for this. Hard to find information about some of these movies. This is a 1934. So John Wayne made dozens of these, Three Musketeers. He's done a Three Musketeers too. Just Poverty Row projects in the 30s between the Big Trail and his tenure with John Ford. But all throughout the 30s, he's cutting his teeth. He's finding his path. And so there's tons of these really short. This is 53 minutes long. And it was made by a company called Lone Star Productions and then distributed through Monogram, which is a Poverty Row studio, a Poverty Row distributor. I'll leave the rest. You go check out the review if you want to know more. But it's not great, but I wasn't expecting it to be great. I was expecting it to be 53 minutes of 30s Western action with John Wayne, and that's what I got. On that note, here's another John Wayne from that was 34. This is 35. This is 1 year later, and this is for Republic. And this is Westward Ho. How long is this one? This is 61 minutes. It's so interesting too. Like, I had to do a lot of detective work on these because there's just not a lot of information out there about them. So you can go to IMDb and get trivia about so many. Okay. This is not a main channel video. We're just friends talking here, right? I'm seeing so many commentaries where people are just dryly reading IMDb trivia, sometimes verbatim. I'm like, I can do that myself. So the commentaries that I tend to enjoy the most are the ones that I feel like are giving me some information or perspective. They've got perspective on the themes of the movie or the maybe how things are tying together into a larger picture, maybe some behind the scenes production information, things like that. If all you're going to do is read me IMDb trivia, just write it down, write it in a review. My review's draw on a lot of that stuff too, but I'm not doing a commentary for this stuff. You got to bring a little bit more than that for a commentary. But hey, some of the best in the business, some of the busiest in the business, that's what they're doing. So I had to dig really hard to find some of the information about these movies, but it was a rewarding dig, and I will continue to do that digging because this information needs to be out there. It needs to be known and circulated. This one was one I was really excited about because this is Elvis the Searcher. This was a documentary from about 3 years ago, I think. And I was waiting for it to get a Blu-ray release because I think the digital is in HD. I think it aired possible whenever it where did this originate? Anyway, I believe it was shot in HD. And so to get it on DVD, I was like, it's also over it's 3 hours and 40 minutes, I think. 3 hours and 25 minutes. That's too much for one DVD. That's going to have some compression on it. It's not going to look great. But I love Elvis, and I've been wanting to see this documentary, and it was $5.95, I think. I think it was $5.95. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. That's fine. So I'm really excited about this. It does have Priscilla as that's the unfortunate, if I may say this. I recognize this is maybe an unconventional opinion. Priscilla was just one of the many women in Elvis's life. And he was not necessarily a faithful husband, but she has become like the overseer, the gatekeeper of his legacy. And that just comes with a lot of problems. So I tend to resonate with things that are unofficial, that don't involve Priscilla. But all that being said, the focus of this is on Elvis, the artist, Elvis, the musician, what fired him, what got him excited. It's not an analysis of his life and his rise to stardom. It's an analysis of him as an artist. And that's an underserved narrative for Elvis. So I'm excited about that. Let's talk about this too. Brazil. This is another Republic Pictures production. There's a Republic logo right there. Let's see, 1944, 91 minutes. I don't know. These are like $3.95, $5.95, and I was like, now is the time. Because again, nobody knows what's going on with Olive. I actually wonder, just speculatively behind the scenes, I wonder if Olive could be purchased by Kino Lorber, or if that library could be taken over by Kino Lorber, because you've already got the acquisitions connection there. Olive is clearly not in a great place, but the audience is the same. Olive Films audience and the Kino Lorber audience is the same. Kino Lorber seems to be just crushing it these days. So I'm just curious if that's something that could ever even happen, or if it'd be worth it to happen. I don't know. But I don't play games with stuff that's going out of print that I want at this point, and I'm so interested in Poverty Row and pre-code cinema, this stuff that not a ton of people are talking about. More of that in just a second, but I wasn't going to take a risk on it. This was one of the most begrudging purchases I've made in a while. Of course, it comes from Shout Factory, as do most of my begrudging purchases. Shout Factory is one of those labels that I don't really like what they've become. I like the history of the company, but I don't like who they are now, and I don't want to support them now. But this dropped to, it was $21, which is, it's over. I think this has a $50 retail price. It's the Don Knotts collection, and it's all the 5 Universal movies. Ghost of Mr. Chicken, The Reluctant Astronaut, The Shakiest Gun in the West, How to Frame a Fig, and The Love God. Now, 4 of those 5 movies, everything except The Love God, got a Blu-ray release, a standalone Blu-ray release between 2017 and 2018. And I supported those. I have all 4 of those, and I was like, where's The Love God? What's the deal with The Love God? Some of them were Best Buy exclusives for a while, and then they went wide. Like, you could at least make it a Best Buy exclusive. Here we are 4 years later, and it never happened. But this happened, all 5 of those movies, and they've compiled them onto 3 discs. So two of the Blu-rays have 2 movies on each disc. Now, these are not particularly long movies. Hour and a half, hour 40. No, these are an hour 43. So the longest one is an hour and 43 minutes. They probably look fine, but I was just kind of butthurt about it because I've already bought them, and I just needed the one, and I'd rather have them on single discs, not sharing, not being compressed with, joined onto another disc. But c'est la vie. The price was, I was like, I'd probably spend $20 on the movie that I wanted anyway. It would probably be $20. Shout Factory involved, it might be $35. So I sprang for it, and I still haven't watched The Love God. These just came in a few days. Actually, they came in yesterday. But they do have some extras on here. There's a few special features. They got like the Don Knotts guest stars on the Red Skelton Show. I don't remember. Oh, Trailers from Hell. That's actually, I was like, Trailers from Hell for 2 of these movies? That's amazing. I don't remember those single releases having any special features, but maybe they'll do. Maybe they do. I got to pull them off the shelf, and maybe I'll do some side-by-side video comparisons. I was going to say, I don't need duplicates for these movies, but Don Knotts, I love him so much, and I love those movies, those 60s Universal camp classics. I may just keep them. I may keep the duplicates and then have, I've actually got 2 copies of The Ghost of Mr. Chicken on Blu-ray. Now I have 3 copies. But I just can't bring myself to get rid of them. I should give one of those copies away. But I just love them. They represent, that whimsical, goofy, deliberately corny stuff that we need it. When Batman is so sad, where's our enjoyable, lighter fare? There's not a lot of balance. And so this is a topic for a video all by itself. And you can weigh in on it. You feel free to comment on this. But there's such a lack of balance right now. Everything is so intense. It's either super dramatic or it's either super dramatic with no levity, or it's tongue-in-cheek ironic. Like the Pam and Tommy Lee thing, which I watched the first episode of that, and I was just like, what is the tone for this? These are real people. They've painted these real people to be like cartoon characters. Meanwhile, Tommy Lee's making podcast rounds and stuff. It's not like he can't have a conversation. It's not like you're like, Tommy Lee, what do you think? Well, oh man, he pulls out a gun and shit. Like, that's not who he necessarily is. They didn't get his approval. They didn't get his input on anything. It really feels like a hatchet job. It feels like a sabotage to me. And it's fine, but it's based on real people, and the tone of it is so, it's so winking, and I'm like, it's not the tone I want for this project. So that's my observation of most modern entertainment right now, is it's either super serious, that's most movies, right? Or it's like, look at this a-hole, right? Guys, this a-hole. There's nothing in the middle. There's that tone of just like a good, solid cinematic entertainment that didn't take itself too seriously, but was still kind of fun. Or still kind of, it could be dark, but it could also be fun. I'm thinking, like, let me think of an example. Okay, so, you know what? I'm writing a review for the Three Musketeers. The 1940, is it 47? It's 47 or 48. The Gene Kelly Three Musketeers. And so I was like, where did the swashbucklers go? And then that leads me to, I was like, what was the last gasp of the swashbuckler? And it was Zorro with Antonio Banderas, which is not campy and it's not super dark, but it does have darkness in it, and it's just really fun. It was the Count of Monte Cristo. It was The Man in the Iron Mask, which was fairly gritty at its time. You know, The Man in the Iron Mask was not, it was kind of a drama with a lot of swashbuckling elements in it. What happened to that movie? Where did that movie go? I mean, maybe even Brotherhood of the Wolf, stuff like that, right? Le Pacte de Loup. That's not comedy, and it's not like, I'm so angry. It's like Ben Stiller and Mystery. All the modern movies are like Ben Stiller and Mystery Men. She's like, just raging, and then, okay, I burned myself out. And it ended with Pirates of the Caribbean, which took over the mantle of the swashbuckler. But of course, that's a whole other thing, because those are $250, $300 million movies with supernatural elements, and they're theme park rides. They're literally and figuratively theme park rides. But those Pirates of the Caribbean still has a lot of fun and darkness, and it's not, look at this Davy Jones douchebag. Everybody's Dennis Miller. Hey guys, what's going on with the Davy Jones douchebag over here with the organ and the keys, and I don't even know. That we didn't do that until, the last 5 years or so. And I'm like, can we stop that? Can we just have some fun again? So I dig into the past, and a lot of you guys seem to come with me. Because I'm digging into the past, there's a lot of movies that I want to see that I'm having a hard time accessing. So I've been buying a bunch of Mill Creek collections. I thought I had all the Mill Creek that I ever needed. I have the 200 movie packs, the drive-in 200 movie pack, the Western 200 movie pack, the horror 200 movie pack, and then the documentary. They're the window box ones, right? They're massive box sets. There's one about this, like the history of wars. It's like all the war documentaries. But believe it or not, there's still a lot of movies that aren't on those collections that I want to see. And I could watch a lot of, because they're in the public domain, so I could find them on YouTube, but then they're ad supported, and ads on YouTube are terrible. We just watched the Super Bowl halftime show on YouTube, and they've ad supported it. And they're in the worst possible. It's like Eminem comes out, he's like, ding, 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 ding. He's like, got one shot, one opportunity, do not miss your chance to ding, 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 and then they cut to like, stamps.com or something like that. And I'm like, this is in the middle of a song. He could have at least done it in between the songs. So I don't like to watch movies ad supported. So hence I go for, this is the Burnt Rubber collection. This is out of print now, but you can find it. There's a lot of them out there. Don't pay more than like $8. The movie I wanted to say, there's a couple here actually. The Big Wheel. Billy Coy is a garage mechanic who eventually works his way into becoming a race car driver, just like his late father was. That's 1949. The main one was Hot Rod Girl. I think that's a Sam Katzman movie. 1956. That's got Chuck Connors, and a police officer tries to keep the local youth from illegally drag racing on the streets by setting up a track for them to safely race under his supervision. What are some? T-Bird Gang from 1959. That's another one. I'm looking for a copy of Hot Rod Gang. I'm getting a notification here on my phone there. Hot Rod Gang is, I can't find it anywhere. I can find it, but I can't find it in any Mill Creek packs. It's a 50s movie, one of the many teensploitation hot rod movies with Gene Vincent I think he's in the movie and on the soundtrack. And I'm kind of having a Gene Vincent thing right now. I went through a Gene Vincent phase like 8 years ago. Have some Gene Vincent CDs. Here's a sad story. They weren't in my digital collection. I have the actual CDs. They've bit rotted on me because they're cheap. They came out of England. It's that stuff's in the public domain over in England because after 50 years it slipped into the public domain. So just cheap fly by night collections, and they look fine. Well, they're a little cloudy, but no. So I'm gonna have to rebuy them. Maybe I'll just look for them. I'll see. I'll fire up my special antenna and see what I can find on the internet for those. This is new. That's actually, I bought this from Hamilton Book because I think it was like $9.95 or something like that. It's the Crime Wave pack. The reason I bought this, you see it's still sealed too. I hate this packaging. This is the worst of any Mill Creek packaging. I will take the hard box and the paper envelopes. This is the worst. Oh, but I should show you. And this might be the best. Look at this. Shala. Dedicated trays and hubs. Now, it was only 4 discs, so I guess they were able to do it a little more cheaply. But I primarily bought this because there's a bunch of Producers Releasing Corp's core PRC. There's a bunch of PRC movies here that are not on other collections. And I've got another one coming too, because all these have a lot of overlap, but then there's a lot, like a lot of stuff that's not overlap. And this draws exclusively from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Actually, coming to say that, I think there was one 60s movie on here, maybe. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. 1964, The Naked Kiss, Constance Towers, Anthony Isley. But it's all 30s, 40s, and 50s movies. Noir, basically. Noir and crime is what it is. And then the mystery classics. I bought this because there were a few things that I didn't have. Fog Island is the one. George Zucco and Lionel Atwill, I believe, are in that movie. And I wanted to see it, and I didn't have a copy of it. So that's on here. A lot of the stuff that's on this collection is not on that one, and that one not on this one. So with all these public domain movies out there, by the way, I like the way that this is done too. Everything's in the envelope, but they've got the descriptions of what's on that disc on the envelope. But with all these public domain movies, you'd think that you buy a few collections and you'll have them all, but that's not the case. Most of Monogram's stuff and most of PRC's stuff seems to, I think 80 PRC movies are in the public domain, and I definitely don't have 80 of them on these collections. So it's a matter of tracking them down. And some of this stuff's getting nice, clean restorations from people like the Film Detective and who's some of the... Anyway. Books. Let's talk about some books. So, I loved that Teen Pick book from Thomas Doherty. I loved the scholarly approach because it was... you don't get that a lot. It was just full of footnotes and sources. And I went through the end. When I finished the book, I just went through the sources, like everything. He's got footnotes for everything. And a lot of it is like magazine articles from Variety from like 1953 or whatever. It's all footnoted and sourced, and you can go track it down. But a lot of it's books is like other books that he's read, and I'm just like writing notes like, oh, I need that book. I got to read that book, like the history of the Hollywood box office, because I'm interested in the stars, but I'm also maybe even more interested in the business aspect of stuff, like how these trends rise and fall. And there's a ton of that stuff in there. So I was like, I got to have more books by this guy. And he's written a few more. So this is from the same author, and it's Cold War, Cool Medium. And it's the history of, it's television, McCarthyism, and American culture. So it's a look at the anti-communist McCarthy HUAC thing through the lens of television. And I actually think it's really cool. And I haven't read it yet, but it says that it has some... What I've seen, the reviews are like, some of the conclusions are surprising. Like you might expect it to be like anti-McCarthyism or whatever, but I don't know that that's accurate. I'm sure that people's political sway does come through... Look, it's underlined. That would have bothered me a while back. Now I'm like, yeah. I'm actually getting to the point. I'm like, do I buy a second copy of this so I can make notes and underline? Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like a textbook. It's kind of like a college course. For the post-war American male, controlled schizophrenia was not a mental state reserved for spies and double agents. Okay, they thought that was important. Anyway, I'm sure that people's political leanings do come out in their writing, but more and more I just observe that people cannot be put into a box. So while I'm sure, he's a professor, he probably has some liberal tendencies. We are all like various degrees of like all over the place. And so I think that's kind of cool. I'm reading, and this is going to show up in the next classic film flavors with Vanessa. I'm reading My Lunches with Orson, which is Peter Biskind has chronicled this director's Lunches with Orson Welles right before he died. They would record them. And, Orson Welles was out of the country for most of those McCarthy hearings, but he was generally considered to be a liberal, But I got to tell you, like, you can't put that in. He's all over the place. His opinions, his leanings, he goes from like very conservative views to very radical views. And so more and more, I just think that like we can't put people in these boxes, and to do that may miss some larger revelation. And I'm really interested in the trends and how things happen and looking at patterns. And that's one of the things I love about watching these older movies is you see the trends happening all over again. And like, oh, how interesting. Also from the same author, Pre-Code Hollywood. Sex, Immorality, and the Insurrection in American Cinema, 1930 to 1934. That's a great image right there, too. This one looks kind of daunting. It's a little bit bigger, so over 400 pages. But I bet I'm going to love it because I appreciate the more scholarly... Hey, there's Mae West. Just flipping through. Let's see if I can get back there and show you Mae. What a dame. What a dame. I appreciate these scholarly dives. They're not easy. I took a film several years ago. Vanessa did this too. I can tell you that. I think this should be fine with me saying that. I don't want to tell other people's stories, but Vanessa did this too. A few years back, I guess it was like 6 or 7 years ago, Turner Classic Movies sponsored, it was a free online college level course on film noir. They did one for comedies one year. They did one for musicals one year. I was only able to do the film noir one. But it was like an actual college course, like 10 to 15 hours or more each week. There was tests, there were assessments, and I loved it. Actually, I kept all the resources for it. Every time they'd send like a study sheet or, I think Eddie Muller was involved in that, if I remember correctly. Like, it was really special. I really appreciate that. If you want to really learn about this stuff, first of all, watch it. People will ask, well, how do you know so much about so-and-so? Just watch it and pay attention and maybe take some notes and then watch it again. Commentaries can help, but not if they're just talking about IMDb trivia. But I love that deeper look, getting really into the nuts and bolts of it. This is the scholarly perspective. I guess I am on my way down that path. It's fascinating to me. That's where my joy lies. And Alec K. Rohde, he goes into these... He doesn't do IMDb trivia. He goes into the archives of UCLA and like pulls the books off the shelves and the newspaper records and sits down and does actual research. And that's amazing. I wish I had access to those resources because I would enjoy that. I really would. The academic aspect. You just talk to Amanda Reyes. That video is either coming soon or has already posted. I'm in the editing phase for that, but she's an academic. These people that I have so much admiration for are studying this stuff. It means something more to them. And whether you agree with a certain person or not, that's not even the point. You're observing the record, Well, how did this happen? What was the fallout for this? And you can see how certain mistakes lead to certain things. I got 2 Tony Curtis books as I'm, rambling. 2 Tony Curtis autobiographies. We have Tony Curtis, The Autobiography, and Tony Curtis, The Memoir. A Memoir, American Prince, A Memoir. He also wrote a book about Some Like It Hot, which I don't have yet, and I really should check that out because of that 4K release of Some Like It Hot, which I still don't have yet. It's on its way to me. Or I'm told that I will be reviewing it at some point. But I'm interested in Tony, not humble, not faithful, I guess. I don't know. We're going to get the story. There's a lot of ego in Tony Curtis, but that's, again, I don't want to read the book because I have unabashed admiration for him. He's a human being. Everybody's a human being. We're all good. We're all bad. Look at this a-hole Heath from Cereal at Midnight. Sometimes I'm an a-hole. Try not to be, but, we're all human, so I'm interested in the story. I'm interested in the bigger scope. And finally, this is the last thing we're going to talk about in this video. This is the last thing I picked up, but it's an invaluable resource for me. Rock and Roll the Movies. Why do they call that the Rock and Roll the Movies? Rock and Roll at the Movies would be better. Rock and Roll the Movies. This book I didn't even know it existed. It's kind of a companion piece to those story of MGM, Universal, Warner Brothers. I still need to get a few of those too. Some of the new viewers are like, what are you talking about? A couple of months ago, we all kind of went down this rabbit hole of getting these hardcover reference books about the studios. And so I have Universal, Warner Brothers. I think I have Paramount. I need RKO. And is there a Fox one? I can't remember. Anyway, I think I've got 4 of them. And I need, and then Kyle, friend of the channel and Patreon supporter Kyle, sent a book that's exclusively about 30s movies that fits right next to those. I think it's even the same size. It's paper bound, but it's like it's another addition to that bookshelf and invaluable, right? And so for me, because it's hard to necessarily track down, there's always going to be oversights. Holy cow, there's nudity in this book. Just open to a page. What is this? Bath Time for Turner, a menage a trois. That was one of the hot scenes that gave Warner Brothers cold feet. Well, is this performance? It's performance, which didn't that just stay on target, Heath. Can I share this page? Sure. It's set up like this. It's mostly photos and not a lot of text, which I'm not. I'd rather have text with not a lot of photos. I know I'm in the minority on that, but well, here's some text right there. So I'm still working my way through it, but it looks like here's a lot of text. All right. Maybe they do the text and then, hey, talk about topical. You guys think we're ever going to get the original Let It Be documentary? I thought the original, when Peter Jackson started working on this CGI spectacular that he just turned out, this Get Back thing, it's just everybody looks so artificial because they've degrained it to the point that it just looks so strange. They were saying... I don't think it was speculation. I think they had announced. They're like, when this comes to home media, it will also include the original Let It Be documentary. And of course, that's out. Nobody's even talking about that now. But there was a Let It Be documentary. Even back when Let It Be Naked came out. And was that the 90s? I think it was like 98, 97, something like that. They were saying, okay, the next project was going to be the rooftop concert. And then getting Let It Be out in the home media format legally. Neither of those happened. Now they're kind of tied into this. It's interesting what's going on behind the scenes. There's got to be it's McCartney, Yoko, or Ringo, or maybe all 3 that have held that up. I think they just don't like the way it makes them look. But why not the rooftop concert? I don't know. Anyway. See, this is, oh man. Ride the Wild Surf. Look, full page spread for Ride the Wild Surf. I don't have my glasses on here. Let me put my glasses on and see if I can see. I know we got that's Shelley Fabre. That's Barbara Eden, Before I Dream of Jeannie. Is it Susan Hart? I can't remember. Give me the credits. Dun, dun, dun. The winning formula climax with Don Taylor's Big Beach opus Ride the Wild Surf. Surf Music's dynamic duo Jan and Dean, who gained chart success with their song, were also to co-star, but Dean Torrance once remembered, Jan and I were supposed to be in this epic... our film debut co-starring Fabian. Right about the same time, a close friend kidnapped Frank Sinatra Jr. The movie people kicked me out of the film. That story is recounted in Hollywood Eden as well. If you want to read that full story, there's a book, Joel Selvin, Hollywood Eden. They talk about that Frank Sinatra Jr. kidnapping. I think it's Susan Hart. Is that Susan Hart? I just want to make sure I'm right. But oh look, Monkey's uncle on this page, and Gidget. Oh, I love all 3 of those movies, and I have all 3 of them on DVD. I would love Gidget for Blu-ray. All right, now let's just have some appreciation right now. Sad Batman or more beach movies. I want more beach movies. I'm just kidding. I know there's a lot of people that are really excited about that movie. I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to go see it. I don't think I have a 3-hour attention span anymore. I really don't. I don't think I can sit. And then 30 minutes for trailers. That's 3.5 hours. And my kid's going to be like, why didn't you pick me up from school? Actually, no, because they don't even show movies in the daytime anymore here. It's all at night. So And Brie will be like, why didn't you come home until midnight? I stopped at the bar. But I didn't stop at the bar. I was just in the movie until midnight. So long. So long. So long, guys. What a great place to leave. This is what I've been buying. This is what I've been spending my money on, spending my shekels on. What's going on with you? Did you guys pick up anything there? Hamilton book sale. This is a great conversation starter for you guys to talk about the collecting aspect. To talk about, what you're adding to your shelves and what you're getting out of it, right? So continue that conversation. This is not meant to be a one-sided thing. This is meant to be a dialogue. And what you say may resonate with somebody else, and then they may pick up the conversation, and before you know it, we're having a whole big thing here. We're having a shindig. We're having a clam bake. All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you for being Patreon supporters. It means the world to me. You make this possible. These videos are a thank you to you for making Cereal at Midnight possible. Give yourself a pat on the back, because it's you. It's you. Baby, it's you. All right, thanks so much. Take care, guys. Until next time, I will catch you later.